welcome to the Huntsman World Senior Games Active Life. My name is Kyle Case, and I'll be your host on this amazing journey as we attempt to help you get the most out of your life. Joining me in the studio today is my co-pilot, Jeff Harding. Jeff.
Kyle.
How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good.
I try to be creative and original, but how can you? There's only one answer. I'm great.
It ends up being the same, doesn't it?
It does.
So, Jeff, it's summertime.
It is.
It's officially here.
And it got hot.
Yeah, it's hot. The days are longer. Temperatures are
soaring.
Definitely soaring. Many of us are doing more outdoors things in the way of exercise, hiking, boating, just enjoying summer. That's really what summer's about.
It is.
Great time of year. But while we're out enjoying the sunshine and the warm weather, it's imperative that we stay hydrated.
Sorry, I was just taking a drink.
Good for you. It's important, Jeff. It's important that we get enough to drink. And when I say that, it's probably worth noting that water is a premier way.
It is.
It's not the only way, but it's probably the best way to stay hydrated.
But there are negatives. Soda is a negative. That doesn't give your body what it needs.
Right. Even though it's wet.
Even though it's wet and there's ice in it.
Yeah.
It doesn't quench the thirst.
Water's the way to go. But how do you know if you're getting enough to drink? That's the question.
Well, I have my way, but you tell me your way.
Well, there's several signs, and
Okay.
I know you have a way. You have always been a great example to me. You, several years ago, started bringing this gigantic green tub of water with you to staff meetings.
Actually,
and I
it was
like,
9 years ago, yes.
Yeah, it's been a long time ago, but I remember looking at that thinking, I got to get me one of those. And I did. I scoured all of the convenience stores to try to find one that was as big.
Actually, I think you went up to me. I think yours is a little bit
Is mine like 6 ounces bigger?
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, it's important to drink. And like I said, you've always, seems like you've done a good job of that. But there are signs that happen when you're not hydrated, when you don't have enough water in your system. I'm going to go through 6 or 7 of them. Okay?
All right.
Number 1, you're in a bad mood. When you're dehydrated, you are more prone to irritability, fatigue, and mood changes.
I wonder if that's why wives, they're not drinking enough water.
No, we're not even going to go there.
Okay.
Stop right now. Number 2, I'm going to move right on.
Yes.
Dehydration can minimize your saliva production, which makes sense, but that causes overgrowth of bacteria and therefore bad breath. Yeah, I don't know if a lot of people think about that, but bad breath is a sign of dehydration.
Yep. So next time somebody has bad breath, don't give him
a drink of water.
Give him a drink of water, yes.
Number 3, muscles can seize up from the heat. So if you aren't getting enough water, you could experience some cramping, which is never pleasant.
No.
Uncomfortable, to say the least.
Right.
If you're suddenly craving sweets like nobody's business, you could be dehydrated.
Well, that's me all the time.
So, well, maybe you need to drink 2 of those giant tubs of water.
I may need to.
Without enough water, your body can have difficulty with glycogen production, and that sparks the cravings for sweets. So,
wow.
Something I wasn't aware of that.
I wasn't either.
That one was new to me. Number 5, having trouble completing your standard workout.
Okay.
Well, maybe you don't have enough water. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're out of shape, but dehydration reduces blood pressure, which causes the heart to work harder and can therefore decrease exercise capacity.
That makes sense.
So, again, that was a new one to me. Obviously, when you're working out, you need to drink.
Yeah.
We all know that, but I didn't realize that it would kind of zap your energy because of the low blood pressure.
Right.
So interesting.
So that means my football coach was wrong when he said tough it out. He should have been saying take a water drink.
And I kind of grew up in that era too, where it was just like it was a sign of weakness.
Be a man, tough it out.
It was a sign of weakness to go get water. But I think we've learned. I think we've gotten past that. At least when I see.
Just quickly, I went on a hike recently with a high school football buddy, and I'm into hydration. I'm into water.
Yeah, I know. You have a big green tub.
And I mean, even on hikes, and I'm telling Roger, drink. And he drinks it. I feel so good. All this time I've been trying to be like my football coach told me. Tough it out.
Because you're trying to be tough, right?
Yeah.
I remember that. I distinctly remember football coaches saying water's for wimps, Yeah. But I think we're past that. I see it in football practice, and I know even I've been helping out with some wrestling practices. It's so important to stay hydrated.
Oh, it really is.
It is.
It really is.
Okay, here's the last one.
Okay.
Dry skin is another sign that you're dehydrated. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
One way to know if you're not getting enough water is the pinch test. Are you familiar with that one?
The pinch?
The pinch test, yeah.
Where are you pinching?
Just your skin.
Anywhere?
Yeah. So if you're dehydrated, your skin lacks elasticity.
So it stays
indented?
And
it doesn't snap back into place. So that's just one, maybe not overly scientific way, but it's one way to tell if you're getting enough water.
Yeah, well, mine went right back, so I must be okay.
You're hydrated. There you go. So when we don't get enough water, the physical effects can be very unpleasant. Mild dehydration can cause headaches, constipation, dizziness, increased anxiety, sunken eyes, and joint aches. Severe symptoms, though, are things that we want to really be aware of and watch out for, and they're worse. These are actually kind of like go to the hospital type signs. They include low blood pressure, a rapid heartbeat, fever, delirium, unconsciousness, severe diarrhea or vomiting, and the ability to keep fluids down. None of those things sound fun.
No, they're
so
all bad.
People, here's the deal. Go drink some water.
Drink some water.
Go get some fluids in you, right?
And the rule of thumb is if you feel thirsty, you've waited too long.
It's probably too late.
Yes, you've waited too long.
So go get something to drink.
Right.
For sure, right?
Do it right now.
Awesome. Well, today's guest is one of our incredible athletes at the Huntsman World Senior Games, Mary Keyholm. Am I saying that right, Mary?
It's Keyholm.
Keyholm, excuse me. Mary Keyholm is joining us here in the studio. Mary has had a very incredible life. She's been through a lot, and most recently has kind of picked up cycling as a great activity. Sports hasn't always been your thing, has it, Mary?
Oh, no. Only about the last 6 years I've picked up on it.
Awesome. Well, tell us just a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up? Just a little bit about how you kind of got to that point of where I wanted to cycle.
Well, I grew up in south central L.A. in the Watts area.
Okay.
And being raised in a poverty area, you really cannot ever see yourself in a position of success. And I found myself at age 25, 26, out of an abusive relationship with 5 children to support and wondering what I was going to do with myself with no high school education.
Wow. 5 kids and no real prospects.
No.
Now, Kyle, you may not remember, but Watts is where those riots were.
I do remember.
I mean, that was pretty nasty. That was some nasty stuff.
I moved away from there just probably 6-8 months before the riots in
Is that right?
in the
Good
60s,
timing.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
And moved out to Orange County in Southern California.
Okay.
So
with your kids, you're single still?
Yeah.
At that time, okay.
Uh-huh. So I got a job as a waitress at night so that I could spend the maximum amount of time with them. And I was just hungry for an education, so I started taking classes, going one semester at a time because, as I said, you can't picture yourself being successful. So you just, fortunately, I was blessed with perseverance. My husband would probably call it stubbornness, but I like the other term better.
Let's go with perseverance. Let's go with perseverance.
Works. So I was probably in my 3rd year of law school before I finally realized that, I can do this.
Now, wait. I don't want to skip over important parts here. So you're in kind of a desperate situation. I think it might be fair to say. You've got 5 kids, no real prospects. The best thing you can find for yourself is a waitress job, which is great. Nothing wrong with that. That's fantastic that you were able to do that. And now all of a sudden, how many years later, you're almost done with law school?
Oh, it was 9 years later. And
so it was a journey.
I had worked my way in the restaurant business to a management position for Lowry's restaurants in L.A.
Okay.
So I was doing okay. I mean, I wasn't making a lot of money, but I was making enough to support us and get by while I was going to school.
So how did you decide law school is the choice for me? Like, how did you get to that point?
Actually, I was dating an attorney.
Oh, well, so there you go.
I was at UC Irvine, and my major was in the biological sciences.
Okay.
And I got to thinking, well, now, how am I going to use this to support myself? And the only way you can do it is maybe research and teaching. So I started taking educational type courses, and I was bored to death.
You didn't enjoy that?
No, it was just
career path.
It was way too easy and not challenging. So I was dating an attorney, and he just said, well, why don't you try law school? So I did. And I was actually going to both at the same time. And UCI said, we can't have you do that. You're taking the space of other students. So I had to drop
choose one or the other.
Yeah.
And so you chose law school.
And I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the law. Now, after I practiced for maybe 10 years, I didn't think it was so great anymore. But But I continued, and I managed to make it through 20 years of law practice. And in the meantime, I met my wonderful husband that I'm still married to 34 years later. And we've just had a really good life since then.
Great. Well, if you're just joining us, you're listening to the Huntsman World Senior Games Active Life, and we are visiting with Mary Kaiholm. I wanted to say that right. Mary Kaiholm. She's a cyclist at the Huntsman World Senior Games, and we're just kind of talking about how she got to that point. So all during this time, you're really focused on raising your children, making sure that they, get off to school, all the things that moms do, also working as well as going to school at night. There really wasn't a lot of time for exercise or competition.
Well, the time was probably there. The desire wasn't.
Okay.
She's going to be honest.
Yeah. And I had started gaining weight. Well, my husband decided to retire from Southern California Edison Company and go out on his own and market himself in the power industry as a site manager.
So he wanted to be a power broker.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to go with him because he was going to go all over the world. And so that's what we did for the next few years. We just traveled around on these major projects.
So you kind of wound down your law practice and said, hey, I'm just going to travel the world and enjoy myself.
Right. And then we found, in the meantime, we found Hurricane, which we fell in love with. And so our base was there. And every time in between jobs, we would be there. And as I said, I was starting to gain weight and more.
Which happens to all of us, right?
So about 6 years ago, I decided it was time to lose it. And in the process, I knew I would have to exercise.
Dirty word.
Darn. Yes,
the way
dirty
you say
word.
that, I think we know how you felt about it.
Yeah, so I went out and got the cutest little cruiser. It was so cute, and I had the matching
you're
clothes.
Talking bicycle.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I started riding, and as you know, you go very far here in southern Utah, you're going to hit hills.
It doesn't take long.
No, so
Especially
I started climbing hills, and one day my chain came off, and I had no brakes.
Which is okay when you're climbing, but it's the downhill part that's the bad part. Right?
Fortunately, I was not on a hill when this happened, but the realization struck me, maybe I better get a different bike. Uh-huh. So I tried a couple of the hybrid bikes and rode around on those for a while. But I put an electric assist kit on my bike, which allowed me to go long distance. I was having a real blast with my little dog on the back, and I'm
you're cruising all around
so fun.
The neighborhood.
And for my 75th birthday, oh, by the way, I lost 70 pounds, part of which I've gained back.
This is a minor detail, right?
Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Congratulations.
So I'm tootling around on the bike, and for my 75th birthday, I rode 75 miles, but it was with the electric assist.
But still, 75 miles.
That's a long ways.
But all my bragging on Facebook.
You didn't mention the electric assist, did you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
She's an attorney. She's going to be honest.
I tell people. But I caught the attention of a friend because of my bragging on Facebook. So he cornered me one day and said, would you ever think of doing the senior games?
I think it's safe to mention who the friend is.
It's worth noting, yes, that Derek Campbell, who is our chief financial officer at the games and sometimes co-host of the show, knew you because he lives out in your neighborhood and suggested that you give the games a try, right?
Yep. So I did, and I won 4 gold medals.
Now all these little details, right?
I have to tell you this part, and my husband says, I don't know why you tell people that. I didn't have any competition. So it's like winning by default.
But it's still winning. You still have to do it to win.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
Absolutely. You have to show up. You have to start the race. You have to finish the race. We don't hand out gold medals just for being in the parking lot. I mean, I think that's definitely worth.
Participation medals.
We don't do participation medals. You actually have to complete the race. So, yeah.
And that's why I do it. Not to win, but to finish. And so I feel very good about it. But this year I'm going to move up 2 divisions so that at least I can be a little bit, competitive.
So you had mentioned off the air to us why you're moving up the divisions, and why is that?
Well, I checked my times last year with the others, and I did quite well. And the Division 4 is a beginner's category.
Right.
But I looked at Division 3, and there isn't anyone in my age group in that one either. So, my times were competitive with the Division 2 and even Division 1. But they have a great rider in there that there's no way I can touch her.
Not yet.
No.
I mean, time will come when you'll get there.
I think that could be the case for sure. So I think that's great. I think your story is inspiring and motivational in so many ways. But I love the fact that you've just embraced the sport kind of later in your life, but you're still able to really engage and enjoy it, but also to compete.
Yes, and it's the friendship, I think. When you get involved in these events, there's so many friendly people around and other like-minded people who want to keep healthy. And exercise is absolutely key to keeping your health.
Well, it is.
Absolutely.
But my story is probably typical. Because when you've lived as long as we have that participate in the senior games, everyone's got an interesting story.
You're just glad to still be alive. Although I do think we need to mention, in the interest of full disclosure, that she did take the electric motor off her bike before she competed in the game.
Yes, I had to go get a real bike.
We don't have an electric motor assist division in the game. So
talk about your first experience. Last year was your first year, is that right?
Yes.
So there's got to be a level of intimidation. You've never competed before. You've been riding around, but you've never actually competed in a race before. Tell us about that experience of just kind of signing up and going for it.
It was no intimidation, actually, because everything, the stats are all there. You can read them. So I knew I was the only one in most of the races. There was one race where there was someone that was competition, and we were both lined up together as we were getting ready to go on to the course. And she said to me, "I'm not sure I can make it up the ramp." And I said, yes.
Yes. Internally, you're like, I could beat this girl.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, that is fun. What a great experience. Great story. So last year, as you said, you didn't have a lot of competition, but you had a very successful meet. You were able to get some hardware to show for your efforts. Are you continuing your training?
Well, I'm continuing to ride. I don't know about training, but I do ride, and I love this new bike. I can do everything that I used to do with the electric assist. I can do without it because the weight difference, by the time you put that on, and I have my dog on the back, I was almost 50 pounds of bike.
Yeah. Wow.
And my new bike is 11 pounds. So
that makes a big
really,
difference.
really makes a big difference.
So I've got to ask: does the dog still come with you?
No, the dog. The weight factor is just too much.
The dog stays home with Daddy.
Yes.
So what's your regimen? Is it every day? Is it once a week? What do you kind of do to get out and ride?
I was riding every day, and I think that was wrong. I think it was too much, and I've cut back so that I do it like 3 times a week, and I alternate. Sometimes I do hills. Sometimes I just stay on the flat to try to give me a little bit of change up.
Do you do it morning or evening?
Oh, early morning, as soon as it's light.
It is pretty hot
around
here, so you have to kind of beat that heat.
Right, and you do, because I probably bike anywhere from an hour and a half to 2.5 hours, and by that time the sun's up and starting to get warm.
So that's fairly significant. You're out there for quite a while, riding the road. I'm curious, how far do you go on your workouts?
Normally, anywhere between 17 to 20 miles is a normal day.
She throws these numbers around like they're nothing.
Just like they're nothing, yes.
Yeah, I rode 75 miles on my 75th birthday. I get up every morning and I ride 30 miles. That's great.
And I make sure I carry my water.
Good point.
Definitely water.
Good point.
And I've tried the energy drinks, and all they do is dry you out faster as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
They leave a bad taste in your mouth. And
I think water's the way to go.
Yeah.
So you competed last year for the first time ever. Aside from the competition, were there any other elements or aspects of the games that really stand out as something special for you?
Yes, it's the commingling of people together and talking and sharing their experiences, and it's just fun.
Did you go to like the opening ceremonies or any other events?
I didn't go to the opening ceremonies, and I would love to have gone to the softball games, but I for some reason didn't get around to it.
The timing didn't work.
Yeah,
out.
my daughter had come in from California to be with me, and I was kind of concentrating on her rather than other events.
Well, that's understandable.
It is, but let me just make sure that you know that you're certainly invited, along with everybody else. You can come and spectate at the Huntsman World Senior Games every October for free. Just come and be a part of it. Feel the inspiration, feel the motivation. It's just a lot of energy. And you touched on something that is so important, and we hear so many of our athletes say the same things. A lot of times people come for that competition. That's why they've come. But when they come and they feel of the friendship and the camaraderie, that's the reason they return. They come for the competition the first year. They come for the friendships and the camaraderie every year subsequently.
I agree with you. Yeah.
And we find that for a lot of our athletes, it's just almost like a family reunion.
Right.
So you've just had this amazing life where exercise and competition has not always been a part of your life. What advice would you have for somebody who's maybe in the same boat, hasn't really competed, but is curious and just wondering how to take the next step?
Well, start earlier if possible, but but it just makes such a difference in the way you feel. I just can't say enough. Everybody needs that exercise. Otherwise, your body just freezes up and you can't do anything. And I just really love the health aspects of it.
So have you converted your husband to cycling? Does he have a bike? Does he go out ride with you?
He does have a bike, but he has not gone out with me.
Well, I think that maybe a little more friendly persuasion is in order. He needs to get out there with you.
Well, now that I'm drinking more water, I'll just be nicer, obviously.
That's awesome. You actually listened to the intro.
Oh, yes.
I wonder sometimes.
She's an attorney. She's supposed to listen.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Well, Mary, that's great. Again, your story is so inspiring, and I just think your example is just great. I love this story, and like you said, we hear it, fairly regularly from our athletes. They either weren't really into sports and competition, or they were, but then they had to take a significant break to raise their family and their careers. Mm-hmm. But they come back to it, and the love is there. And I feel the same way with you. It's just great.
It's nothing like being outdoors.
For sure. Well, that's about all the time that we have. But Mary, thank you so much for joining us. You're just a pleasure to visit with.
Thank you.
Well, Jeff, it is time to register for the Huntsman World Senior Games.
It's almost past time.
Well, we've still got some time.
Yes, almost.
But let's create some urgency,
okay,
right?
Yes. That's what I was trying to do.
Now is the time. If you're interested in becoming an athlete, just like Mary, now is definitely your time.
Just do it.
Visit www.seniorgames.net and register today for the sport of your choice. That is still open. We do have a few sports that have closed, but we still have lots to choose from.
Right, and there's always something else that you can do.
That's right. So if you go and your sport of first choice isn't available, and there are about 4 sports, pickleball, bowling, softball teams, volleyball teams that have reached their participation caps. If your first sport is one of those, take a look at something else.
Yeah.
There's plenty to do. We have 30 total sports, 26 of them we're still accepting registrations for, so now is a great time. So far, Jeff, we've registered more than 5,300 total athletes in all of our sports.
That's phenomenal.
So don't wait to register. Now's the time. The 2016 dates for the Huntsman World Senior Games are October 3rd through the 15th, and make plans to be a part of the action. It's a great event.
And the fun.
We've been talking about our 30th anniversary all year long. We've been celebrating all year long, and we're going to do something fun today.
What's that?
In just a moment, I'm going to share an inspirational quote, which I always do.
Yes.
But email who said that quote to activelife@seniorgames.net. That's activelife, all one word, at seniorgames.net. Email us who said today's inspirational quote. And folks, I'm going to tell you who it is.
It's not going to be hard.
No, so just email us at activelife@seniorgames.net. Tune in next Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time on AM 1450 or FM 93.1 for the Huntsman World Senior Games Active Life. And also remember that you can listen to this and any previous episode right from our website at www.seniorgames.net. So here's the inspirational thought for the day.
What are they going to win if they email?
Oh, I'm sorry. You will win a free entry into the games.
Okay, thank you.
From the great Vince Lombardi.
Vince Lombardi,
That's
everyone.
Vince Lombardi. The only place success comes before work is in the dictionary. From Vince Lombardi. Until next Thursday, stay active.
Bye, everyone.